Well, my father's a diesel mechanic. My father had an opportunity to move to Canada for work, and he came into the kitchen. I was obviously from Scotland, 1988. I was a 15-year-old boy just about to turn 16. My dad said, we're moving to Scotland. We're moving to Toronto. And my geography wasn't the best, so I thought Toronto was in Spain, you know. So I was like, fantastic, Spain, you know, this will be great, nice weather. And then I found out that Toronto was actually in Canada. So I showed up, I'll never forget it. It was July 14th, I believe, 1988. And my mother had my brother and I dressed in toques, I guess you call them, and woolen gloves and scarves, you know, we were coming to Canada. And I remember walking out into Pearson International Airport, and it was in the middle of a bloody heat wave, you know. And I looked at my mother and she looked at me, and it was sort of the unspoken word of, did we get on the right plane, you know? But there I was in Canada, and we moved to Brampton, Ontario. But I was here, and I remember my father and my mother sitting my brother and I down and explaining to us that we were now in Canada, and that we could not forget where we came from, but it was most important that we realised we are not Canadian, and we have to adapt ourselves as such. It's funny, you know, sometimes you don't realise until you stop and look back, but looking back on that, you realise what made you who you are and what you've become, you know, because that's basically what I am. I mean, I enjoy the storytelling music. I think that's maybe what people identify with me as country, I guess. I've never called myself a country singer.
You don't regard yourself as a country?
No, I never have. I feel very fortunate and very humbled that I was able to find an audience in the country market. But I wouldn't call myself a country singer, but I wouldn't call myself a rock and roll singer, or a blues singer, or a soul singer, or anything like that, you know. I often say I definitely don't recognise myself as a folk singer, because that's what they used to, you know. Right. My grandfather was referenced as that, because every time he started singing, people said, "Oh, folk," you know. but he, you know, I've always recognised myself as myself, and it's easy being myself. It was a little difficult at the beginning, to be honest, because no one could pigeonhole me. No one could take me and say, well, this guy's that, or, you know, this guy's this or this guy's that. But once I started building an audience and sort of singing my songs the way I want to sing them and playing them the way that I want to play them, you know, people recognised the truthfulness in that. You know, I think people recognised that I was genuine, and that I wasn't trying to fool anybody. I was just being myself. And, you know, I think that's what people turn to, you know. I've got music in my head all the time. It's actually annoying at times, you know. I'm desperately seeking silence, but I can't find it, you know. I always have music in my head. I always have melodies, and I can't stop. It's always the melody. Da 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 da. You know, I'm singing away, and then all of a sudden I'm like, I really like that, you know. I'm feeling alright today. Yeah, I'm feeling alright today, you know. Okay, cool. Well, I woke up this morning. Okay, that would work, and that's kind of how it leads. And it always goes back to that melody. It always goes back to that wee melody that I had in my head. And I have to tell you, since I've had an iPhone, it's been amazing, because I used to walk around with this bloody big tape recorder, you know, and people would be like, "What are you doing?" And I'd haul this big thing out of a bag and da-di-da-di-da, you know, and singing in these melodies. But that's kind of my process. Is I'm inspired by people. I'm inspired by my surroundings. I'm inspired by, you know, everyday life.